My entitled sister thinks that she, as well as the rest of her family, is entitled to my husband's paycheck. And after years of financial abuse, as well as them taking advantage of me and my husband, we have simply had enough and put our foot down and told them no more. Here's what happened. My sister and I have always had a rocky relationship. Her husband and my husband are brothers, so we've always had that distinct closeness. Due to poverty, I only graduated from a 2-year course. My husband is the successful one in the entire family, basically. He graduated from college with a Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering and is now a chief engineer. He works overseas while I manage a small store at home. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband didn't graduate. Their source of income had always been from selling fruit shakes in front of schools. It wasn't a steady income, but their daily needs are still met. Since my husband and I have the capacity to help, I've asked my husband to help my relatives. He agreed, and now we finance the education of more than 10 people. Our relatives, the neighbors' children, people we hire as help, you name it. Aside from that, we also help my sister's family with everything we can, even on demand. Back in 1999, I was pregnant with my first child. We used to live in a small town far from the nearest hospital, which was kilometers away in a city. So, my husband and I decided to move into the city to be near basic commodities like schools, hospitals, and markets. There were markets and schools in the small town, by the way, that we did live in, but the city just had better accommodations. My sister was livid when I told her the news of us moving. She reasoned that, well, what about her family? Their income won't let them survive that long. I was so stressed, and weeks passed by that I forgot it was the 9th month of my pregnancy. And on December 6th, I hurried to the hospital. My friend already agreed that I'd be staying in their house for now. The next day, my first child was born. I asked my cousin and my friend to fetch my belongings from the house, because I had already decided to move to the city for my baby. When my friend and cousin went to the house and fetched my clothes, my sister went on a tantrum. She threw all my clothes outside and basically said that she hopes that terrible things happen to my newborn child. I was devastated, of course, when I heard that, but life went on and I forgave her for that. Years later, I already had my second child. My sister's second child was about to go to college, so I financed her education. She wasn't able to finish college because of her choice, but I just brushed it off, despite having to buy the things that she would need for her school. Years later, her third child was ready to go to college as well. Now, this is where things started to go down south. My niece, let's call her Sarah, that's not her real name, during her second year in college, started to date. She was a lesbian and started dating this girl a few blocks from our house. By the way, we moved to another city still close to our hometown. My niece lived with us during this time, and I was pregnant with my third child. Little did I know, my niece would go out at night, leaving the gate open, and she would go clubbing with her girlfriend. I only found this out when my cousin told me that the gate was open one night. I scolded her about this, and this was also the time when I found out about her relationship. I told her that it was no problem and it's totally fine that she started dating, but I want her to focus on her studies, which means her girlfriend can't be in the house to be a distraction, and she can't go clubbing either. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I called her mother, but instead of apologizing to me, she got angry and told me to get off my niece's love life, basically telling me that she can do whatever she wants. And of course, I was offended by this. What if she gets into trouble? What if she gets hurt? Who do you think's going to be accountable for this? That's right, me. We had months of quarrel over this, but thankfully my niece graduated. Around 2013 to 2014, I found out I got breast cancer. I was devastated, of course, and I had surgery and went through chemotherapy. During this time, another one of my brother-in-laws had a medical emergency. While I was in chemo, I also helped him with his disease. I don't know exactly the reason, but my sister's husband gathered his brothers and sisters, not including my husband, and plotted something against me. I heard that my brother-in-law actually said verbatim when he found out I got out of surgery, so is she unalive? I did not know what they were plotting, but when they invited me to come to their house, I didn't go. All I know is that they think I'm hogging my husband's money for myself. Yes, you heard that right. They said as siblings, they have rights to my husband's paycheck, which by the way, goes into our joint account. This whole scenario just dug the hole deeper in my opinion. And the list goes on of all the times we finance certain situations in these people's lives. At this point, I have had enough. I have had enough of their demands and I have had enough of their bickering. I just don't know what to do anymore. So the last time my sister and I spoke, I told her to never contact me again. And if a rift between us is what they want, well, guess what? I will give it to them. I said that our relationship as sisters is severed and I don't want anything to do with them. My sister got offended by this and lectured me about family values and whatnot, even after I've given them so much money and time. Till now, I've still not talked to her or her family. I did speak to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, but only for a brief moment. Honestly, I cannot believe how entitled and absolutely money-hungry these people are, but hopefully they stay out of my life. This is such a crazy story because I can only imagine financing that many situations and still having anything for myself. I mean, I can't believe that your extended family honestly thought they were entitled to your husband's paycheck. Clearly, your husband is doing really well with his job, and it is absolutely disgusting that they're just trying to leech off of you and your husband's success. Also, they then can take advantage of your money and not even follow through with half of the things they do. Like for the actual life-threatening emergencies, I totally understand that. But for these kids who went to college only to then drop out or to not take it seriously, like after the first one, personally, I would have been done giving them any money. At that point, I would have been just like, okay, get some student loans and figure it out. I'm not paying for this. They didn't take it seriously and they just basically took advantage of these people. And this happened for so long. Some of these situations quite literally date all the way back to the late 90s. I just don't know if I would have put up with this for that long, family or not. So good for this original poster for setting some serious guidelines and some boundaries with her extended family. You and your husband work way too hard to make what you do, and the last thing you need is some entitled, undeserving extended family member trying to rip money out of your pockets, all because they think they deserve it, which by the way, they definitely don't. My coworker is actively talking badly about me behind my back after I tried to approach her and clear the air for a previous issue. Now I'm not sure what to do, and I feel like I'm being intentionally left out of just about everything to do with my office. What should I do? Let me start off with some background information. The coworker was my mentor during my internship and still unofficially is. We're around the same age. I'm in my mid-20s postgraduate and she's in her late 20s. And we have been working super closely together for the better part of a year. This is my first legitimate career job and she has seniority over me. For the sake of the story, I will call her Sarah. That's not her real name. One thing about Sarah is that she talks a lot and can be very verbally reckless about her own business as well as other people's business, so I've always been wary to share anything legitimate with her. She has been kind of pushing us to be best friends, but I've been very hesitant. The only personal things she knows about me are things that I told her during my internship when I wasn't yet aware of her nature and felt obligated to do so. My point of all this is to say that she often puts her foot in her own mouth. Anyway, the other day, Sarah was chatting away and she mentioned family. I thought I would do the social thing and mention something silly and harmless about one of my family members, just to add to the conversation. But Sarah responded with snarky judgment and called my family member dumb, and that her family member would never do something like that. I was kind of stunned in the moment, but afterward the comment kept nagging at me and started to upset me. After all, she's told me all sorts of dumb stories about her family, but I never straight up insulted them or compared them to my own. She slightly hesitated before saying dumb, so I'm sure she knew on some level that it was out of line. So I thought it would be the adult, mature thing to do to just nip the situation in the bud and confront it head on. All this to avoid some kind of situation later down the line. So I approached her and just asked if she could turn around so I could speak with her for just a moment about something that bothered me. I told her that I just wanted to speak about it now, so there wasn't a problem in the future. I said that I know her intent wasn't malicious, but what she said about my family member felt very inappropriate and that it really bothered me. I asked that she be a bit more thoughtful in the future. I assured her that all was good and made certain to keep my voice calm, even, and polite all throughout. The whole conversation lasted about 2 minutes. She didn't say much. She just looked shocked but apologetic. After that, I considered the issue taken care of, and I didn't think much on it later. However, a little while later in the day, one of the other co-workers we work semi-close with, I'll call her Rebecca, came to our work area, and I could faintly hear Sarah tell Rebecca that I was mad at her. A bit later, I could hear her angrily typing away in our private communications at the office and see her minimizing the window whenever I walked near her area. So I'm certain she was divulging everything to Rebecca about the situation. The funny thing is that it seems that Sarah got herself all worked up about me confronting her and somehow turned it into her being upset at me for apparently having the audacity to confront her about her comment. Since I have to work so closely with this person, I didn't want a tense work environment. I tried again to clear the air and just be mature by messaging and clarifying things with her and getting her take. She claimed that she was 100% fine with me approaching her about the comment and that she likes how open and honest I am, but that she got super upset about the way I approached her. She thought it was sudden, which was unfair to her, and that I should give a warning beforehand so she can prepare herself to give her full attention. To be completely honest, I didn't really get it, since I did give her a preface before airing my grievances, but I just said it looks like we both have things to work on. She agreed, we laughed about some silly stuff, and then things seemed to be settled finally. Except they weren't. The vibe is now completely different. I tried to be normal after our conversation, and she still acts somewhat normal directly to my face. However, her and Rebecca seem to have bonded during Sarah's anger at me, and now I'm getting iced out of certain conversations and left out of activities. There is now a lot of awkward and tense silence when I'm in the room. I also overheard Sarah snarking about my work habits to Rebecca behind my back. I'm not good at being fake nice, so after hearing her talk smack about me, I've been trying to stop participating with all this fake buddy-buddy stuff and focus on my work. But then they treat me like a weirdo and tiptoe around me for not playing along, despite knowing that they're trashing me behind my back. Ultimately, I don't care much about these things on a personal level. However, professionally, she's still meant to teach and mentor me, so I don't know how to proceed. This working environment is completely unsustainable, and I don't know what to do. In my opinion, you need to go to HR right now, as well as document everything you've heard and seen with timestamps included. The way she's treating you is absolutely workplace abuse, and you should not have to put up with that. You've tried to be mature. You have approached her twice already to try and clear the air, but she is actively going behind your back to talk badly about you to fellow coworkers. You have rights and you don't have to put up with that. I also know exactly who you're dealing with right now. I've had coworkers like this, and let me tell you something, you learn very quickly that you don't want to be friends with them. They're the kind of person who would stir up drama just for the sake of having something to talk about, and they will drag you through the dirt simply because they can. And then they'll turn around and act like the victim of the situation, claiming you've done something that you haven't done. I know exactly what you're dealing with, and I'm so sorry you're in that situation. But you can get ahead of this. And just because she has seniority does not mean that she is exempt to all the rules that all of you follow. You better believe they can pull up her private messages and see exactly what she's saying about you to Rebecca. You don't have to put up with that. You don't have to deal with someone spreading false rumors about you, and you absolutely can fight this head on. So that's what I would do if I was in your situation, and I really feel for your situation because I know exactly what you're going through. So I genuinely wish you the absolute best, and I hope this situation works out because you deserve to work in an environment where you're not going to be treated like garbage on a daily basis. And I really hope this situation can be resolved and you're able to find that work environment that works best for you. I think that my boyfriend is cheating on me, but the only proof I have is based on who is following him on Instagram, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. My boyfriend and I have been together for just over 1 year. Lately, he has become very distant and withdrawn. He barely invites me over anymore. He doesn't call me by my pet name and seems totally disinterested when we are together, and even says ew when I tell him that I love him or that I miss him. He used to tell me how cute I was when I called him cute first, but again, now he just says ew. Having been cheated on before, I know the signs. I think he is pulling away from me because there is someone else in his life. He says he's become depressed, but I have a gut feeling he's more interested in someone else. As I said, I have no physical evidence of him cheating, aside from several new female Instagram followers that popped up on his page today. One of the new followers is a woman who posts inappropriate pictures, if you know what I mean, and the other one has a private account. Neither of them returned the follow, but I have a horrible feeling about this. How do I confront my boyfriend about my suspicions about him cheating on me? What should I do? So let me get this straight. You have no evidence that your boyfriend is cheating on you, and your only suspicion is what could possibly be bot accounts that are following your boyfriend on Instagram? Like, are you kidding me? I'm really sorry that you got cheated on in the past, but new people following your boyfriend on Instagram does not mean that he's cheating on you. I mean, it sounds like he's just depressed and that's what he's communicated with you. That or he's just not interested in you anymore. I mean, I really don't think it's appropriate for him to be like, ew, anytime you tell him that you love him or you miss him. And you can obviously have a conversation about that, but to jump to some weird conclusion that, oh yeah, he's got to be cheating on me, seems really counterintuitive, and if anything, is just going to cause problems in the relationship. Like, how would you feel if your boyfriend came to you tomorrow and said, oh, you had 2 new guy followers on your Instagram. You're cheating on me, right? Like, that would make him sound really crazy, wouldn't it? Because that's how you're sounding right about now. So if anything, I think you just need to have a conversation with him and ask him how he is and what you can do to help him, because it sounds like he's struggling with depression and he just needs time to figure that out. I also don't know if him saying ew to you saying that you love him or you miss him is his way of trying to be funny or cute in some way. Like, I know of couples who have a relationship where they're sarcastic about how they love each other, but in the end they still love each other. So maybe he's trying something like that. But in my opinion, it's a very bad idea to go at this with the idea of, oh, he's definitely cheating on me, all because of who's following him on Instagram. That's irrational and that's absolutely crazy. I think my colleague is starting to develop a crush on me, and I'm not sure how to break this off or what to do. So I have this colleague that sits next to me. We got along pretty well from the start, as she was in charge of teaching me the ropes around the office. We also live in the same neighborhood, so we either carpool or take the same train. She is indeed very pretty and charming, and I feel like I can talk to her about everything. However, I've never seen her as more than a friend. I am happily engaged and she is married and has a child. However, lately our lofty conversations have turned into sudden slips of the tongue when she says something naughty or suggestive, if you know what I mean. And while I may class it as just people enjoying some flirting with no further interest, I can also see other signs which I've recognized in myself and other people when we were starting to fall for each other. In conversations, she always brings me up. When she hangs out with her friends, they all start to giggle like schoolgirls when they see me. She drops everything, including phone calls when I talk to her. She always asks me for small favors or asks me small technical questions, despite the fact that I know she is probably better than me in the field, or she offers to do little favors for me without asking. She finds any occasion to spend time with me, and she is overly touchy, and when I don't pay her any attention because of work, she gets all sulky. When she is focused on her work, she ignores everybody but the bosses and myself. But the moment I started talking about any of this is the fact that when we are talking about something trivial and her husband called her on her phone, she would put her phone on silent. I usually react neutrally to these gestures, but sometimes I cannot help myself making a cheeky remark. Now, you may say I'm imagining it, but I get this constant uncomfortable feeling that she might not be entirely happy in her marriage. And since I am the most constant male presence in her life, other than her son and her husband, she might just have her eyes set on me. And since she sits right next to me, it probably doesn't help that much. I've heard of and I've experienced the attraction by proximity in the past. The problem here is that I've never really thought much of her outside of working hours and the occasional meeting outside of work. But lately, thoughts of her have started creeping up in my mind. Not romantic, but more like I wonder whether she feels that dreaded melancholy feeling when you want someone and can't be with them. And I fear I may be falling for her as well, because as I said, she can be quite charming. And the biggest issue here is that I cannot just distance myself from her since we're forced to work together. I really wish I could explain it rationally to her, but then would I come across as an idiot, especially in a professional environment? I never thought at 30 I'd have such a teenage love-related question, but I suppose an objective opinion might be helpful. What should I do? I think you probably need to make it more clear that you're in love with your fiance and that you're getting married. If it really is the case where she's interested in you, then make it more obvious that you're off the market. I think maybe this is a case where you're reading a little too much into this, and she might just be this charming, flirty person with just about everybody she comes in contact with. I've dealt with people like this before, and honestly, it can be very confusing. So just be careful in this situation. There is a very high likelihood that she is not actually falling in love with you, and that she just acts like this with people that she cares for, or at least considers a close friend at work. Also, I think you need to take a few steps back. You just admitted that you're falling for this lady. You have a fiance. What happened to being loyal and being ready to get married? I think you need to re-examine your own relationship, as well as set some boundaries with your coworker, which by the way, she is just a coworker. So letting your thoughts wander is like not a good sign. If anything, I would go to HR and be like, hey, is there a chance I could work in a different section? Make up some ridiculous excuse like, yeah, I don't really like my desk setting. It's in a place in the office where I'm really distracted. I need a little bit more privacy. And then maybe you can just move your stuff and still work with her, but you won't have to sit right next to her. That might be a solution for you. Either way, I think you need to remember your fiance in this situation and bring her up a lot more. Because if you're not careful, this situation could become a lot worse than you really want it to be. And I don't think anybody wants ruined relationships and damaged homes. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.